Hi everyone, Lil on me here. So, I'm doing my birth to 1 year old breastfeeding story, journey, whatever you want to call it. Excuse me, I've just had my lunch. I did actually do an update when Roman was about 3 months old, but the footage got deleted, lost, whatever. Anyway, I haven't been able to find it since then, and so I'm just going to do one big long journey basically. So Roman was born on the 6th of August 2011. He was 6 pounds 1 ounce, and he was born by induction. He was born at 9 minutes to 8, I think. Oh gosh, that's terrible. 9 minutes to 8, I think it was, at night. I bleed quite badly, so we did kind of try and get him to latch, but not for very long once he was born. He was placed straight into my chest. We did quickly try and get him to latch, but because of the bleeding, I needed to go to theatre, and I was in there for 2 hours. I was absolutely exhausted, and when I came back from theatre, I don't really recall trying to latch him on or anything like that. I think we just slept. I think Roman was asleep and I slept as well. I was in hospital for 5 days because I had high blood pressure and it just wasn't coming down, and I needed to be there just to be watched over and also be on some medication. Every day that I was there, I had the lactation consultant coming to my room to try and help me because Roman just was not latching, and it was awful. I just felt like a complete failure. Everyone makes out breastfeeding to be this beautiful natural thing, and the baby just pops out and just pop it on your breast and everything's hanky-dory. No, it doesn't always happen like that. I'm sure for some people it does, but often for most it doesn't, and I was one of those people. By the end of a couple of days, my nipples were so sore that I just felt like crying. Every time he was hungry, I was just like, please, please, do not let this kid near my nipples. They just hurt so bad. I did have cream for them. It kind of helped with the cracking, but they were still incredibly tender, so much so that I just felt like I couldn't wear anything. If I could have gone stark naked, I would have. So yeah, we had exceptionally bad latching problems to begin with. He wasn't sucking, he wasn't doing anything right really, but I had to realise that I was learning, he was learning, we were both learning, and that I just had to realise that it was going to take a few days and that everything was hopefully going to be okay. The lactation consultant was really helpful. She kept showing me the hold, a couple of different holds actually. I chose to do the football hold just because my boobs were enormous. They're enormous now, but when I was in hospital, I was ginormous with preeclampsia, and then add the milk coming in on top of that, it was just insane. They were so engorged, it wasn't even funny. Like, I felt like I was going to suffocate him. So I ended up holding him in the football hold on the side, which meant that I had one hand to hold my boob and one hand to hold my baby and kind of get it in there. So yeah, the first kind of week, it was just intense pain, cracked nipples. It was not an enjoyable experience at all. I was just like, I just don't know how people can do this, but I never kind of once had the thought of, I want to go to a bottle. I never thought that at all, which I'm quite surprised. I thought I would, but I didn't. After 5 days in hospital, we got to go home. That morning, he wouldn't latch at all. Before I left the hospital the day before, I'd kind of got the hang of things, and I thought, we're going to be okay, a bit more practice and we're sweet. But the next day, he just would not latch at all, and I got kind of panicky thinking, oh my gosh, he's going to starve, what am I going to do? Why is he not latching? It was fine before, and I ended up expressing some milk onto a teaspoon because he was exhausted from trying to get him to latch kind of tired him out, and he was just so tired he wasn't going to latch at all after that. So I expressed milk onto a teaspoon and fed him that way, and that was all the encouragement he needed to get his energy up and to try again. After the first week, we got into our own rhythm. I got my football hold perfect, I got the latch perfect, and every time my midwives came to visit me, I would just say, can you just check to see that I'm doing it right? And that's my advice to new parents too, is don't be afraid to get checked just to make sure that you are doing it right, because you don't want to ruin your nipples and be miserable and sore for weeks and weeks and weeks. So every time I saw my midwives, I was like, please just watch me breastfeed and just give me any tips, or just let me know if I'm still doing it correctly. And I was, and so that was fantastic. I was very pleased once we finally got the hang of things. I felt like I could breastfeed anywhere, and I felt like a whole new woman. It was just one less thing to stress about. By the time we got to 3 months, Roman became incredibly fussy at the breast. He would often turn away, he wouldn't, he would suck, and then he would stop, and he would just scream, like at the top of his lungs, scream. And I'd be like, oh my goodness, has he got colic? Has he got acid reflux? Has he got something? What is going on? So I took him to the doctor, and he prescribed him baby Gaviscon, which was like a powder that you added to breast milk or formula. But of course I was breastfeeding, so I just expressed and gave him that with the baby Gaviscon. It didn't work. I wish I could say it worked, but it didn't. It didn't work at all, and he just screamed and screamed and screamed and screamed. I put it down to teething. Apparently not, because he got his first tooth when he was 11 months old, not 3. So I still to this day don't really know what it was, but I persevered through it, and I was like, we're going to get through this. You'd have a week of him being perfect and he'd breastfeed, and then a week of him being incredibly fussy, and that's how it was pretty much my whole breastfeeding journey. It was incredibly difficult, incredibly tiring, a little bit stressful. It was really hard on me, but I was just like, I'm going to see this through, I'm going to get through it, And some weeks were perfect, so don't get me wrong, there were some weeks where it was absolutely perfect and I really enjoyed it. I just really loved that special bond between me and Roman. Just, it's only something that I could do for him, provide the milk for him and just cuddling him and being able to look into his eyes. It was just really heartwarming, and I really enjoyed it actually. By the time he was 5 months old, we introduced him to solids. We had one particularly really hot day, and for some reason, I must have been dehydrated or what, but my milk dried up. Nothing was coming out, and Roman was starving. And I was just like, what am I going to do? So I was jugging back the water, but in the meantime, I decided I would try him just on some pureed apple or pear or something. At 5 months old, he's not too young to try solids. I was really hoping to stick it out to 6 months before he tried solids, but this was desperate measures. And he absolutely loved the pureed fruit, so I was just really pleased with that, and my milk came back in and things were fine again. But he became increasingly fussy. So 6, 7 months old, it was a constant everyday battle to breastfeed him. If you look back in my video diaries, I probably mention it quite a few times, because it was just, he would suck, hop off. He was kind of getting to the age where things were distracting him. He'd want to look around, he'd hear voices, he'd look at them. I'd try and get him, back to the job. He wouldn't have a bar of it, and he would scream. And then other days he would just scream when there were no distractions. So I went to the doctor and I said, something's got to be hurting him. Something is not right. I know that I've got plenty of milk I can express, and express a lot. So supply is not an issue. And we never ever figured out what it was. Sometimes I think, why didn't I just go to a bottle? Would it have been easier on him? Would it have been less stressful on me? Probably. But I think there was just something in me that just wanted to stick it out. Had I not had all that pressure, maybe I would have, at that point, by about 7 months, caved and given him a bottle, because it was just a nightmare. Breastfeeding was not enjoyable by that point in time, because it was just a constant struggle. It was a battle every breastfeed, and he was having a few breastfeeds a day. And then we saw kind of a light at the end of the tunnel, but at 8 months old, I had a month or two, 8 or 9 months old, we kind of went through a patch of everything being okay. He was kind of breastfeeding quite minimally. He was having solids as well. So he was only breastfeeding maybe three times a day, perhaps. He was only feeding for maybe 2 minutes each side. He just wasn't interested really, but it was still nice and calm. He would just have his feed and he would be done, which made things life a lot easier. And I was always concerned. I was like, I'm sure he's not getting enough. And I talked to the blanket nurse about it. She's like, you know what, if he's hungry, he will take it. And from then I kind of lived by that, is that if he was hungry, he was going to have it. And then came 10 months old, and at that point he decided he'd had enough, and that was the end of my breastfeeding journey. And I was kind of sad, kind of happy that the stress and struggles were over, happy that I was kind of going to get my body back, that my boobs might shrink in size a bit. I don't know, I just felt like a different person when he stopped breastfeeding. I felt kind of free. It was nice. But then I was also sad because I was like, oh, you know, he's growing up now. This sucks. My baby's not a baby anymore. Yeah. So he just kind of decided that he'd had enough of breastfeeding, and so he weaned himself. And then we just went on to formula, basically. And now at 13 months old, he's just on cow's milk. He'll have maybe 2 cups of milk a day. He'll have 1 cup of milk with a scoop of Milo before bed, and he might have 1 just during the day, just either with breakfast or lunch, just cold. This month though, we are actually putting him on a toddler formula just because we are trialing it for the company and we're just giving feedback on it. So this month is going to be a bit different. He's going to be on a toddler formula, which I'm actually quite liking because he's become increasingly fussy with his food, and being on a toddler formula, it kind of makes me feel like he's going to be getting the nutrients that he needs. He's not going to be missing out on anything. And having not breastfed for months now, I feel sad and I miss it, and I often wonder, you know, I can't remember what it feels like. I just have the memories of when I did breastfeed and that I loved it, and I loved spending the time with him when he was happy. And I also remember the struggles, but I still miss it. I don't know. It's kind of like you don't know what you had until it's gone kind of thing. And I kind of do miss that one-on-one time I had with him in my arms, giving him the milk he needs to survive. And yeah, so I'm kind of really looking forward to breastfeeding when the next baby comes along. Will it be a struggle? You never know. Every baby is different. Every breastfeeding journey is also different. So we didn't have an extremely pleasant breastfeeding experience, to be honest. So yeah, I just want to put it out there that not everyone has a happy story of breastfeeding, and mine is most definitely not one of those happy stories. But I made it through. I got to 10 months of breastfeeding and I was pleased with that. I'm happy. I'm pretty sure he got the nutrients he needs because he's happy and healthy, and he is currently awake, trying to get my attention to get him out of bed right now. So I'm going to have to wrap this up. I just want to say that although there are people out there who are pushing towards breast, absolutely, breast is of course absolutely best, but I think new parents have so much new going on and so much to worry about that added pressure just is kind of not necessary. It makes you feel kind of stink, and you know, it's just added stress. So I just feel like each mother's got to do what they feel is best for their baby, and stick it out as long as you can. At least you've given it a go. You know, breastfeeding is a wonderful experience with baby, and less equipment, that's for sure. 1 boob each side and yeah, good to go. But yeah, so that's just my breastfeeding journey. I cannot wait to do it again. Who knows, I may even get those struggles again, I'm not sure. But I really look forward to breastfeeding my next baby if I can. So that's all, you guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and leave me any comments below if you've got any questions. See ya.
Here's baby Roman. Hey, sweetie. Hey. He's just having a feed. But look at his beautiful eyes. Look at those eyes. Roman, up here. Hey, sweetie. Hello. Oh, you're sleeping. Hey. Hey, Roman. Hello. You're thinking, what is that big thing you have in my face, Mummy?